within this type of three-dimensional perception, the only possibility is to see everything to be like an object, including problems or anything. And within this perception, we try to resolve these problems by eliminating the problem or doing something to the problem, as a problem is seen as something to be attacked. So we developed this thinking, which is like a very good weapon. But energetically, in a sense, we are making a mistake, since what you resist persists. We give it reality. So these solutions of thinking might be part of the problem. And maybe even looking at this might be seen as some kind of an attack. The difference is that we are not looking at this whole dynamic to change it, because we would be in the same type of dynamic, right? So we cannot get out from time with the help of time. We cannot remove desperation with desperation, or we cannot think ourselves out from thinking. So there is no possibility to get out from this type of perception as the action figure, which is perception. So the only possibility is to leave everything as it is, because for this type of perception there is no other possibility of perception. Okay, so it is clear that there is a necessity for a higher intelligence to step in, and there are many quotes that very interestingly resemble and are giving us some hints to engage this higher intelligence that is beyond this quite mechanical thinking, which is reactionary and determined and conditioned and limited to its own dimension. So there is reason, intelligence, which is not this type of strategic thinking or cunningness, which would pertain to the level of thinking, where we would develop a strategy to get rid of some problem. Okay, so we were saying that there are a lot of quotes that resemble in a way and are hints to engage this higher intelligence. So when we hear this quote, for example, that clarity doesn't answer the questions but dissolves them, right? So clarity doesn't answer the questions but dissolves them, because for clarity, of course, there are no questions. Clarity is clear. Or another quote is that truth is true and nothing else is true. Truth is true and nothing else is true. And even in alchemy, to solve something means to dissolve something. And this term solution is actually to dissolve the problem, right? So exactly as clarity dissolves the questions, it doesn't answer them. Or that truth doesn't fight with lies or deception, because it's equal. And another quote is that what you resist persists. Okay, even Bruce Lee in some movie, he says that there is no opponent. Why? because there is no I. So when the opponent moves to the right, I move to the right. Or when the opponent moves to the left, I move to the left. Something like that. And when the opportunity comes, I don't strike, but it strikes by itself. So resisting these lies gives them validity, gives them value. And the only value is the value of truth. The only value there is truth. The only value is clarity. Also, some years ago, when I had a glimpse regarding confusion, it was that we leave confusion exactly as it is. We don't touch it because as soon as we touch it, we are in it. And leaving confusion exactly as it is, it was revealed that I'm always clear. I'm always clear because confusion is seen in the clarity that I am. But being clarity, there is no confusion. See? So, in a sense, um, this is the magic, if you will, of being. The miracle, in a sense. Magic in the sense of miracle. So, we need this kind of miracle today. This meaning engaging this higher intelligence of being, which is timeless in its nature, because the only time is when we see a problem to be outside of ourselves and we try to develop some tool in order to overcome that problem somewhere in the future. So this necessitates time. This needs time. But this true solution is never by answering the question, is never by fighting the lies, it's never by um, resisting something, because that would mean that we would give it reality, right? Which it doesn't have. So the conclusion is that the only thing that would work, in a sense, is to recognize this fact that truth is true and nothing else is true, or this clarity, which is not a solution in time, right? So it has always been so, and it can never be otherwise. Somehow contemplating this or repeating this to ourselves, it's like something is recognized and it's sudden and all at once. Okay, so practically speaking, even accepting that on this level of linear thinking or Newtonian type of perception, there will always be non acceptance. We will always try to change what is. But there is a point where this type of linear thinking and intelligence cannot coexist. So there is a point where our mind recognizes uh, truth, recognizes clarity, or is clarity. And then there is nothing else but clarity. And that is a glimpse. Now, this can last for longer periods or very short period, like a fraction of a second, but it's life changing. It's falling into timelessness in a sense, but it's beingness. And this what I say that it is a glimpse that I had or something that it lasts a certain amount of time is incorrect because the experience is that there is no second, there is no other reality, there is no time, there is no other reality. But when we are again in this perception of linear thinking, we immediately say that that's a memory and uh, it's something that happened in the past, like an event. But when that clarity happens, and that clarity is that is in such a way experienced that it has always been so, and it can never be otherwise. It's not even feeling; it's reality itself. So we are not attacking linear thinking because that would be from this perspective of linear thinking. So we are not trying to get rid of thinking, we are not trying to stop our thinking. These techniques, in a sense, any technique in a sense is still thinking, right? Thinking that if I stop thinking, then that will happen. No, the only possibility is to leave it exactly as it is, because it is exactly as it is, and it's not a problem. It's not a problem for reality. It's not something that we have to resist. It's not something that we have to answer. It's not something that we have to strike. It's not something that we have to resist, right? So we cannot engage the same type of activity that this thinking does, right? The only possibility for it is to see problems outside of itself and develop some tool. Now this is more important today because we developed this artificial intelligence, which is actually an extrapolation of our thinking, of our linear thinking. And this artificial intelligence, even if it is called intelligence, it cannot engage this intelligence, this higher intelligence. Okay, it is just another tool, another weapon actually, because this thinking, in a sense, is like a weapon which, if a problem is seen outside of ourselves, we try to remove it. So we develop this strategic thinking, and artificial intelligence is an extrapolation of this thinking, which is an even more performant weapon because it can have more data, more past, more experience, but trying to solve something in this way, maybe we can remove something locally, but then some something other happens. Only when these actions, in a sense, are done with acceptance, not like with hate, then it's not a problem if we do an action in a physical realm. But the difference is that the emphasis is not on the physical. An action in the physical can be present and done, but when we are taking side with this intelligence and acceptance, then that action is successful. Otherwise, from my experience, problems reappear in some other form. These are like some repeating patterns. So, this higher intelligence is creativity, is insight and reason, and it's peacefulness, right? Because there is no opponent, there is no opponent for this truth, right? There is no opponent for clarity. Clarity is not a clarity that is as opposed to confusion, right? This clarity that is defined with the help of confusion, or this is an image of clarity. It's not clarity. So an image always needs a contrast, light and darkness. This light, which is defined with the help of darkness, is not true light. Is an image of light. So true clarity and true light or truth, these are without a second. Without a second. These are the same thing, but without a second. There is only one reality, and there is nothing that can happen to this reality. And when this is lived to be our own reality, then synchronicities happen, or miracles, if you want to call them like that. So there is no opponent. Why? Because there is no I. What you resist persists. And when the opportunity comes, I don't strike, right? So clarity doesn't answer the questions, but it strikes by itself. Truth is true, and nothing else is true. Okay, thank you.